So basically today we will see all the configuration on ASA, like how we can configure NAT, how we can configure the ACL, and how we can configure the routing. Okay, so I'll just directly go into my firewall. And I'll just increase the size of this particular firewall. If you want to see the routing, you could just run that show route command. So where we are having the one default route which is pointing towards the outside interface. You can also find by running this console run route. And I am having the IP address as well. So interface IP and brief in my interfaces. Okay. So what happens to configure the firewall? Okay. So the thing is, it can start working. Okay. So we need a IP address on the interfaces of firewall, which is already configured, right? And we need a default route pointing towards the internet, pointing towards the ISP. So static, the default route is also configured, right? And we also need a static routing. Static routing or any dynamic routing protocol, which can provide the reachability till our inside users. Okay, like we are having here, like we are having these inside users till these guys. Okay, let's suppose here we are having 100 of subnets. Here also we are having 100 of subnets. So we generally put one static route which is pointing towards these guys. So thing is that firewall send this traffic towards this particular host, and this host forward this traffic towards these particular users. Okay. So the thing is, we have configured the IP addresses, we have configured the default route and also static route. Now the next thing which we need to configure the NAT. So we need to configure the NAT. This is the third thing. So what happens in NAT? We usually configure always PAT. So what happens? Like thousands of users which are available in our inside network can go towards the internet by using one public IP which we have configured in our outside interface. Okay. So we will configure the PAT, and we also want to host our server, right? This is our DMZ server. So the thing is, outside users like this is the outside user which is sitting in the internet. He can also access the web services on this particular server. So for that we need a static NAT. So now we will see how we can configure the PAT and how we can configure the static NAT. So now let me complete my configuration. So we run this command object network, and I'll give this object network as a name. This is a PAT. Okay. So I'll give the name to this guy as PAT. After I'll just define my subnet. So I am having these subnets right in my inside 10.0.0.0 10.1.1.0/24 network, right? So I just use this subnet. If you are having 100 of subnets, in that case basically you need to define like object network PAT4. After that you can use the you just give that name of that particular user host. Okay, that particular subnets NAT. After that, here you need to define your inside interface, then outside interface, dynamic interface. You need to run this command. This is the actual NAT command. That's it. If you see, so run NAT. So you have configured this PAT. Okay. And you have configured this PAT for this network only. So run object network for this particular subnet only. Okay. Now let me also tell you one thing here. After that, I will start the other things. Okay. So what happens? you know, this is having security level 100, this is having security level 0, right? So all the traffic which is allowed from inside to outside, right? Like all the traffic which is like TCP, UDP, okay, TCP, UDP, ICMP, all traffic. But what happens for TCP and UDP traffic? Firewall create a connection table or session table. Okay, but the thing is, for ICMP, it not create any kind of connection table. Okay, so what happens when, like, if this guy send the TCP traffic on port number 80, so then reply come from outside to inside, it basically do the lookup on connection table, and according to this connection entry, he just allow this reply packet as well. This is a request packet, this is the reply packet. Okay, this is the case of TCP and UDP. So, and what happen in case of ICMP? This firewall sends that ICMP request. Okay, towards this outside server, there is any server. Okay, and when reply will come, for that it is not having any connection table, so it will drop that packet. Okay, so the thing is, to allow the ICMP traffic from outside to inside, we need to open a access list. Okay, so let me also open one ACL over there. You just remember, for TCP and UDP, it will create a connection table. For ICMP, it is not having any connection. So the thing is, when ICMP replies comes from outside to inside or low security level to high security level, it will drop. To allow these ICMP reply packets, we need to open a ACLs. Okay. So now let me configure my ACL as well for ICMP traffic here. Because if you see right now, so if I'll go in my inside guy, if I ping to 8.8.8, ping is not working. Okay, because the thing is, and if you see the firewall, so exhalate. See, firewall is doing that translation, right? And firewall also allowing that traffic. But what happens when reply come from outside to inside? Okay, from this, like here we are having that server, from here to here, it is not allowed. As soon as I open the ACL, so let me just run the repeat count with 1000 here. Okay, let me now take my ACL firewall. As soon as I have configured that the ACL on this firewall, it will start working. Okay, access list. I'll give the name out. Permit ICMP any. Now, so I have just write the ACL. Now I need to apply this ACL access list out in interface outside. Okay. See, I have applied this ACL. It is there. Ping is working. Okay. So now we open that ACL. That time it automatically start working. Okay. So we need a one ACL. Just remember this thing. Okay. So I want to show you something here. You need to see the translation and NAT translation by running this command. So exhalate. This is the command to see. Like this is the IP address of my inside source, right? And this is the IP address on which basically just do the translation. Okay. Control Shift 6X. It is not stopping. Okay. Let's suppose here So here we are having this network, right, in our inside this one 10.1.1.0/24, right? Let's suppose we are also having these network 10.1.2.0/24 and 10.1.2.3.0/24, and we want to write we also need to configure the NAT, right, for these network as well. So what happens generally, we can configure that thing like this: object network PAT. After that we can define this one, like this is the name, okay? So we can define any name 10.1.2.0 like this. Here we need to define the subnet, which is 10.1.2.0 255.255.255.0. We need to use the same for NAT inside, comma outside. After we define the dynamic keyword and the interface, we are done with the NAT for this particular host as well. Okay, if you see the so run NAT now, so you are having these two statements. Okay, you can usually write these kind of nets. So if you are also having that other one, right, that 3.network, so you can write this one 3.0. Define the subnet, which is 10.3.10.1.3.0 255.255.255.0 and NAT inside, outside, dynamic interface. So you have configured the PAT for your 3 networks. Okay, you can see, so run NAT. So now you are having 3 PAT rules, right, for 3 subnets. So generally people use that kind of things to configure the PAT and all. Okay. Now what I want to show you, see, this is my server, right? This is my inside server. What I'll do now, this is my DMZ server, okay, not inside. So do so IP interface brief. So this server having this IP address, this is a public IP, right? So also let me tell you how we can configure the HTTP services over there. So we need to run this command IP HTTP server. We need to use this one username, like I'm giving the admin, password Cisco, privilege, username admin. After that I need to define privilege 15, password Cisco. That is the way how we can enable the web service on a router. Okay. Now also let me configure the telnet. So we use this command line VTY 0 to 4. Password, I use this Cisco, and login local. That is the way how we can configure the telnet on the router. So you know, I have run these, I have just configured these two services, telnet service and HTTP service in my DMZ server. Now what happens, I want to provide this access of this particular server to the internet users. Okay, let's suppose here one guy is sitting which is having IP address which is 192.168.1.6. This is my network. Okay, in your case that IP address is a public IP. Okay, because for my network this is a public IP for me only. Okay, I'm just assuming this one is a public IP. Okay, so what happens, let me also configure the static net. Object, same object network, you can give the name this one web server. You need to define your host. because it is only single server, right? Which is having this IP 10.2.2.100. After you need to define that same thing, NAT, because that server is available in DMZ, right? DMZ2 outside. You just press the question mark. You need to use the static keyword, static. After you just define the IP address 192.168.1.50. So the thing is that 50 is a public IP, okay, which you have got from the ISP. So the thing is, let me tell you, I am having IP address on this center which is 192.168.1.250, okay, and I have also got one IP address which is 192.168.1.50, which is the public IP. In my case, I'm just assuming this one because I'm having this network in a private public domain only, okay. So what happens if this guy, or like any guy which is sitting here, which is having IP address 100.1.1.1, sends any traffic on this particular IP. So what happens, that traffic basically by ASA forward by this to DMZ server. He just changed this particular IP address on this IP address 10.2.2.100. Okay. So what happens? You know right, from outside to DMZ, that traffic is going from 0 to 50, right? Because in DMZ we have the security level 50. That traffic is not allowed. So the thing is, if we want to allow that traffic, that time we need to open a ACLs, right? So generally what happens, on interface of ASA, you can allow only one access list on one direction, okay? So run access list. So you are having this access list, okay? So what happens, you need to create a same type kind of ACL. Access list name is same. So this is the access list, this is the name outside, okay? Now permit IP any to host. Here you need to define your DMZ server IP 10.2.2.100. So now you are having two statements, right? On ACLs. This one is for ICMP traffic, and this one is allowing the outside users to access the DMZ server. Okay. So what happens if I'll go into my outside network there, and if I run this command, this one 192.168.1.50. See, I'm getting the DMZ server, access of DMZ server. Okay, so that is the way how you can generally configure the things, how you basically host the servers and all. That is the only way. Okay. So what happens now? Let me go into the same place. This is my topology. Okay, so that is the way how you can host the different kind of servers and all. Okay, on DMZ. Let's suppose now. Let me also just expand this configuration a little bit more. So you are having one server which is 10.2.2.100. Let's suppose you are also having a server which is 10.2.3.100, 10.2.4.100, okay, 10.2.5.100 in your DMZ. How you can host these multiple servers now? Okay, so let me first create the interfaces on this particular server, which is having these IP addresses as well. Okay, so I will create the loopback interfaces. Loopback is a virtual interfaces. Okay, do so IP interface brief. I'm not having any virtual interface, so I just create interface loopback 0 IP address which is 10.2.3.100 255.255.255.0. I'll create loopback 1 now, and I'll just change the IP address on loopback 1, which is 4.100. This is loopback 2. Which is having IP address which is 5.100. Okay. Do so IP interface in VDF. So now you are having these 3 more interfaces over there. Okay. Now what happens? You also want to provide the access of these particular servers. So first of all, what you need to configure, because you know these are the, so the thing is these ones. Okay. Let me just minimize this one. So no, these networks are available in this place, right? So what happens? First you need to give the static route on the firewall to reach these networks, right? So the thing is, if you just open your firewall and you just try to ping, you are not able to reach these particular networks. Like ping 10.2.3.100. You are not able to reach, right? Because that firewall is not having any routes for these networks. Okay. So I will just define the route for this. Route DMZ 10.2.3.0 255.255.255.0. Next of is 10.2.2.100, which is the IP address of my this router. So I have defined this particular route. If this time I will try to ping, I am able to ping, right? Okay. Ping is working now. I am not able to ping this other one like 4.100. I also need a static route for this particular one. So let me add the route for this one as well. 4.0. Okay. Let me just minimize this thing. Okay. And I'm just also adding the network which is 5.0. If I'll ping till 4.0, I am able to reach. If I'll ping 5.0, I am able to ping 5.0 as well, right? So now let me take one more some IP address. So you know, right? We need a public IP address, right, to host this server. So we are having this 192.168.1.50, right? This server. So the thing is, this server is hosted on this particular IP address 10.2.2.100. Let's suppose we are also having 192.168.1.51. On 51 we will host this particular server, this one. Okay, the 10.2.3.100. And we are having 52 as well, let's suppose. So on this 52 we will host this server 10.2.4.100, and we are having 54 as well. So on 54 we will host this server. That is the way how we can generally host the servers and all. Okay, just remember this thing. On 51 we will host this, 52 we will host 4.100, on 54 we will host 5.100. Okay, how we can host? I'm just configure the NAT on the firewall for these ones as well. I'll just use the similar concept, network object. Okay, I'll just give the name like DMZ, and I can just define the IP address of this particular server 192, not this one, 10.2.3.100. Okay, this is the name only. Okay, you can give any name, it depends on you only. After that you need to define the host. In host you need to give this particular IP address only, 10.2.3.100. After that NAT DMZ to outside static, and you can define the IP address 192.168.1.51. Okay, if I'll check my access list, so I'm not having any access list, right, for this. So if I'll go to in my outside network here, and if I'll try to hit 192.168.1.51, I'm not able to access, right? So what happens if I'll add the ACLs over there? Okay, if I'll add the access list, I will get the page as soon as, okay, access list out permit IP from any to host, which is 10.2.3.100. I have just write the ACL. Let me just refresh this thing. 192.168. See, I get the access of my DMZ server, right? Okay, so that is the way how we can generally host our servers. So now I have hosted the server on this IP address. Okay, you can see the translation as well. If you run this console exilate, the thing is, this is the NAT rule for this particular thing, means this IP address is going to translate it on this one. Okay, if I try to access the service on 5.2, I'm not able to access because I have not hosted any servers, right, on this particular IP. Let me close these ones. So I'm getting nothing here. If I configure the NAT rule and the ACL, I'll get that thing as well. So you use the same concept, network, object network, DMZ, and give the IP like 10.2.4.100. Define the here host 10.2.4.100 and NAT DMZ2 outside static 192.168.1.52. And you also need to define the access list. Access list out in access list out permit IP from any to host, which is 192.168.1. Note here I need to define my private IP, which is 10.2.4.100. So I have added the ACLs. If I just refresh that page, I will get the DMZ again. Okay, so that's the way how you can host the multiple servers as well. Okay, now let me host another one, the last one. You can also go like this. So run object. Like you are having this server, so you can just copy this thing. Just give the 5.0, 5.10. Okay, after you select this one, just change the IP, which is 5.100. You can now you can run so run net. It's an easy way. Okay, now you can just call this full network. You can use the 53, right? Now you just run this one. So run access list out. So you got this access list. Okay, just copy this ACL. Only you need to change the IP address, right? This one here you need to give 5.10. So if this time I will hit the 53, I can get. I'm getting, right? If I'll, let me open my putty. If I'll try to telnet also work. Okay. If I'll try the telnet 192, 168, 1 down, on 53, on 52 as well, on 53. Okay. If I'll try telnet, where I need to define my username, which is admin, password, which is Cisco, which we have configured, right? So I'm getting the D access of my DMZ router, right? I can see my IP address and show IP interface brief. These are the IP address. Okay, that is the way how you can host your server. So now I'm able to reach all the servers. Okay, if you see here who commands, you can see like which user is accessing this particular server. So this is the IP address of my outside user, right? So outside user is accessing this server. Anyone have any doubt on this? Hosting of servers and all? Anybody? Okay. So you guys not have any doubt on this, really? Okay, so I'm just repeating the things again. We use static net, okay, to host our web servers or the server which are available in DMZ to in outside world, okay? For that we need a static net. We need always PAT. Okay, no worries, you can ping me. Okay, sure. So what happens? We are also having PAT, right? So PAT is stand for port address translation. We use PAT. So the thing is, our inside users can go towards the internet by using the single IP address only, which we have configured in our outside interface generally. Okay. So the thing is, we use PAT for providing the access of our inside users to the internet. Okay. This is PAT. And generally you will see only PAT or static net. Okay, you will see only these two net in production. No one use other nets. All we people use these two nets only. Okay, and on ACLs, you know, like you see here, like we use ACL for like controlling the access, right? Controlling the access of the things. Okay, like if we want to allow the ICMP replies, then we are opening the ACLs, right? And if we want to provide the access to these internet users to our DMZ servers, that time also we have opened the ACL. So the thing is only these can access the server, otherwise the traffic drop at firewall level only. Okay. So these are the ways how we can configure the ACLs and all. Okay. Now let me also start this particular device. This is my Windows system, and we will see. I will initiate some traffic towards the internet. Okay. So configuration is not a problem. Okay. If you are clear with the concept by then you are okay with the commands, that time you are okay with the ASA firewall as well. In tomorrow class I will discuss the NAT and all. Okay, not NAT, sorry, VPN. Let me also explain you some more things on the firewall only. Let me see if this guy is came. It is still starting. That is having lots of issues. That's why. Okay, let me go through with the some. So Cisco ASA, these are the deployment modes. In which modes we can deploy the ASA firewall. Okay. So generally what happens in production, people always deploy the ASA firewall in routed mode. Okay. It is the traditional mode of the firewall. Two or more interfaces that separate the L3 domains means that L3 modes requires the IP address on every interface. Okay, this interface required IP address this. This is the L3 mode only. And the thing is, you will see all the deployment on routed mode only. After that, we are having transparent mode. It's a like layer 2 firewall. Means it's working as a switch. But the thing is, you can write the ACLs and NAT on this mode as well on the firewall. So you can also controlling your traffic. When you configure this firewall in a transparent mode, you only need a one IP address. You don't configure this IP address on an interface. You always configure this IP address in a global config mode only of this particular on a transparent firewall mode. Okay. After that, we are also having the multi-context mode. Multi-context mode means, let's suppose you are having three companies A, B, C. These are the very small organization. Okay. So what happens? These all three companies just purchase one ASA box. This is a physical ASA firewall. Okay, and what happens? They have just divided this firewall into three multiple firewall. Okay, like this is a firewall for company A, this is a firewall company B, this is a firewall company C. So the thing is, these are the multiple instance of the firewall. Okay, these are the logical firewall. Okay, so they are having one physical box and they just divided that physical box into multiple logical box. Okay, so the thing is, every single box, that multiple box is known as a context. Okay, and it acts as a separate firewall only. So you will see that kind of deployment. The people are having this kind of deployment. Okay. Mixed mode is the concept of using virtualization to combine the routed and transparent mode virtual firewalls. Okay. Generally, what happens? They have launched like new features in 9.9 version. You can configure the L2 interfaces in layer 2 interfaces in routed mode as well. When you are running the firewall in routed mode, you can get some capabilities of transparent firewall as well. Okay. So what happens generally, I have not seen any deployment on this mode. What happened with this guy? It is not restarting it. Okay. So you will see the deployment on these two modes, routed mode and context mode. Okay. So in context mode, basically we are dividing one physical box into multiple logical box. Okay. So these logical box act as a one ASA or single ASA. Okay. So this is the routed mode, example of routed mode, where we need a IP address on this interface, IP address on this interface, right? So you see, hence network is also different, like 10.2.1.1, and here we are having 10.1.1.1. Means we need like this kind of subnets on this place, and we need this kind of subnet on this place. Okay, means different subnets on a different interfaces. It separates the two layer 3 domains, means it will separate, it is having the different subnet IP address on every interface. Okay. Policy is applied to the flows as the transit firewalls. So now let me move into the next. This is the example of transparent firewall. So I will also tell you the use case of the transparent firewall. Okay. So it operates as at layer 2, means it's like switch, layer 2 switch. Okay. Transparent to the network means the thing is, let's suppose, let me take one first diagram for this. Let me take this example. Let's suppose this is your router. This is R1. This is R2. They are communicating. Okay. And what happens? Behind this router, you are having your inside users. And behind this router, you are having outside users. Maybe in outside, some attackers also available. And they are just doing some malicious kind of things on your inside users. So what happens in that case is, if you don't want to change anything, you don't want to change the IP address and all, you generally pick one firewall and you just put this firewall into this place. It's a like bump in the wire kind of things. Okay, bump in the wire means we just cut this wire into two pieces and we just connect one point of this particular wire with the one interface and one particular end of this wire with the other interface. Okay, now after we can just write the ACLs on this particular firewall. So the thing is, this guy and this guy is not aware about there's any firewall in between. Okay, it's a transparent to the network. Okay, so this is the deployment, actual deployment. So that generally we can deploy this kind of, we deploy the transparent firewall in this mode only. Okay. So also one more thing, we deploy these kind of things in the network. Let's suppose this is your inside network. Okay. And you are having here the old firewall, like you are having ASA firewall. ASA is also very old firewall. Okay. And after this, here your outside is available. So what happens? There is some next generation firewalls like NG, FW. These are next generation firewalls. Okay. So what happens? You generally put the next generation firewall like Palo Alto, Checkpoint, and the Firepower in a transparent mode. So you can also achieve the next generation capabilities, and you don't need to change anything. You don't need to change the IP addresses and all. Nothing. You just deploy that firewall in that mode only, in transparent mode. Okay. So generally what happens, and after that you just start configuring this firewall as well. And when your configuration is completed on this particular box, you just remove this old firewall. Okay. It's like traditional firewall. So generally we will basically do that kind of things. If we are having any old firewall. Okay. And we want to replace this old firewall with the new next generation firewalls. So in that kind of situation, we go in this way. Okay. Any doubt with this? If you want like configuration and all on that particular firewall, so I have uploaded the videos on YouTube. Okay. So you can just follow these videos over there. Okay, on that particular video, I have explained everything. Now let me go into another mode. These are some remaining things which you have to know only. This is the like working of this particular firewall. Okay, I'm not going to explain kind of working. So these are the requirements. Okay, when you have configured this firewall. So this is the configuration. In transparent mode, you only need a one IP address, which is management IP. Okay. See here, this place also having the same subnet IP address. This place also having the same subnet IP address. Okay. Don't need to configure any IP address on these interfaces. So the thing is why we deploy the transparent mode firewall. Like routers can establish routing protocol adjacency through the firewall. Protocols such as SSRP, BRRP can cross the firewall. Okay, multicast streams can traverse the firewall. Non-IP traffic can be allowed. Deploy where IP address scheme cannot be modified. Okay, no dynamic routing. So the thing is, these kind of features we cannot configure in transparent firewall. Means dynamic routing and VPN, we cannot configure these things, and also quality of service and DHCP relay. We will lose these functionality in transparent mode. Okay. So this is the some virtualization technology. Like these are the virtual firewall, means same firewall, like multi-context. Okay. So the thing is they have divided the firewall into 3 virtual firewalls. This is the like one single box. Okay. Which we have divided into 3 boxes, and we can just give one firewall to company A, other firewall to company B, and third one to company C. Okay. That is the use case of that multiple mode of the firewall. So this is the ACLs. I have already completed these things. NAT I have also completed. HA I'm not going to tell you these things. Yeah, failover you need to know. So what happens in failover? In firewall we are having failover concept. Okay, so what happens in failover? We generally configure the 2 firewalls. Like we are having, this is our ASA1, and here we are having ASA2, and this is your inside network, and this is your outside network. Okay, this is your outside network. So what happens? These guys sending the traffic from the primary firewall towards the outside, right? This is your primary firewall. Let's suppose if this firewall goes down, then the thing is you are not able to now send any kind of traffic towards the outside user. So you just disconnect it with the outside world. Okay, means maybe in internet you are having some servers and all. So what happens in that situation? You also have a one backup firewall. Okay, so if this firewall goes down, then you are having the one more firewall to do your translations. So this is known as a device level high availability. Okay, availability. This is a device level high availability, means if one device goes down, then we are having another device for doing the forwarding. Okay, so the thing is in this mode we are having one active mode and one standby mode. So the thing is active mode is a primary firewall. So what happens if that firewall is in an active mode, then only this firewall can do the traffic forwarding. This firewall only waiting. Okay, it is not doing any kind of it is in a waiting state only. If that firewall goes down, then only this firewall become active firewall and it start doing the forwarding. Okay, let me explain one thing. So this is a active box. This is the standby box. Somehow maybe there is a power failure or there is some other problems. This box goes down. Okay, and when this box goes down, so what happens? This firewall they have also exchanged the keep live messages. Okay, through this failover interface. So the thing is, this firewall sends some keep lives, and this firewall is not available, right? So he is not able to give the reply. So the thing is, if he missed the 3 replies after whatever, he just changed his behavior. He just changed his state from standby to active, and he just start doing the forwarding. of the traffic. Okay, so the thing is, this is known as a device level high availability. So that is the some working of this firewall. So this is the active failover. So generally what happens, you will see always active standby failover. That active failover generally we will configure in a context mode only. Multiple context mode, okay? So let me show you the link from where you can learn these things, okay? You just go into the same link where I have uploaded the videos. So you can just check on this link, okay? Cisco ASA Firewall CCNP level. This is the old batch videos, okay? Where I have explained everything in a detail only. And you just go through with this series. If you face any issues, I will definitely help you with that, because the thing is, this is the like a crash course kind of batch, okay? The thing is, I need to finish your AS in 5 days or 6 days. I need to finish your Palo Alto in 6 days, like that. But the thing is that in that batch, basically, I am having around 10 or 12 classes in ASA and 10 and 12 classes in Palo Alto, okay? Where I have covered everything. I have covered all the labs and all, okay? So you can find everything over there on this place. I have explained everything over there, okay? Like if you want to see the ACLs, I'm having the 2 videos on ACL. NAT videos also there. This is a like failover videos where I have configure all the labs and all, okay? So you can go through, like this is for transparent firewall. Just go through with this. If you face any issue, just let me know. I will definitely help you, okay? Okay guys, then so you want the link for that, or you can just directly go just on which link I have shared, right? You are having any doubts, Surya?
Yeah, I see some of the playlists are like private videos. Do we have access to that or no?
So no, actually that private videos is a like in a Palo Alto in checkpoint, okay?
Oh,
Yeah, so you just complete this one. Maybe I will make available these videos as well after 15 days. Okay, due to
sure.
some privacy reasons, I have do that thing. Okay, so
Okay, okay.
no worries, because I'm getting lots of calls, man, regarding that some help on that thing, configuration of labs and all. So that's why I have disabled these things.
Okay.
Okay, so if you want to learn this checkpoint in Palo Alto, I will share these videos as well separately. Okay, so you can just go through with them, no worries. You will get these links as well by Monday on checkpoint in Palo Alto. Okay, because in Palo Alto we are having the class, but it's like basic Palo Alto class. Okay, but which I have having in YouTube, it's like very advanced level class where I have included lots of features. Okay, even though I have shown like all the things, like how you can block the Facebook, how you will allow the Facebook, and you can block the chat on that. Everything is there, every practical is there. Okay, so if you guys want to learn, I will definitely share you these as well with you. Okay,
Yeah. Thank you.
okay, then anyone having any doubt? Dibya and Bhargav? Okay, Dibya, just ping me if you need any help, okay, on this class. No worries, just ping me on WhatsApp. I definitely respond on that. Okay. Okay, guys, then thank you very much. I'm just disconnecting the class, and tomorrow we are having BPN class. So tomorrow we will see all the like configure all the like theoretical portion of BPN, and on Monday I will complete the configuration on that. Okay. After that we are having one class on the firewall on this Palo Alto. Not one class, we are having around 4 or 5 classes on Palo Alto, because you have known now what is PAT, right? What is static net and all. These concepts are same in the Palo Alto. Only you need to see the configuration, how I am configuring the Palo Alto firewall. Okay. So I will just take a very less time on this explaining these things, because you are now okay with this NAT, PAT and ACLs, right? There we will see all the configuration and all. Okay. Okay, guys. Thank you very much. Bye.